Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Fellowship, a weekly podcast of jaw-jacking and horse hockey, hosted by a couple of blowhard talking heads from the Nation Golf Company. My name is Adam Hawk. He is Ryan Engle. We have a lot to get to today in no particular order. Keith Mitchell proved it's really, really hard to swing a golf club with both hands wrapped around your throat. Just a choke job of epic proportions, and it's really too bad that neither Johnny Miller nor Paul Azinger were on the broadcast to call it for what it was. We will briefly get into that. Also, I have some thoughts on the Free the Tee movement that I will share. And finally, Ryan and I made a turn and burn trip to the desert for 2 meals, 18 holes, and a lifetime of fellowship at Indian Wells Country Club.
And 4 cigars for the kid here.
A lot of stogies. Credit to you for piloting the vehicle home. We were in gale force winds, and your head was probably swimming from all of the tobacco and nicotine, but you guided the Ford Transit van right back to the Riverside Park and Ride, where my car, thankfully, was not on cinder blocks.
Oh, man. Boy, had it been, this podcast would have been better. The photos would have been great.
Yep.
In retrospect, Adam, looking back, don't you wish it kind of was on blocks?
Well, for the folks at home, Ryan lives in San Juan Capistrano. I live in Fullerton. We both have 2 different routes out to the desert. And for the second time, we have met in Riverside at a park and ride where I will leave my vehicle and then get in his. And this particular park and ride had some Google photos attached, meaning people that have stayed there before have shared photos of the parking lot, so you know where you're going and you know what to expect. There were 8 photos shared, and 3 of them showed cars that were left on cinder blocks.
So sick.
And so the entire time we were out in the desert playing golf, the question of the day was, when we do get back to Riverside at 8 o'clock at night, will my Toyota Corolla, which is affectionately missing 2 hubcaps, be missing 4 wheels?
If we had left it overnight and picked it up in the morning, I'd say you'd probably double your chances. 8 o'clock pickup, I think we were good. But boy, would that have been funny.
Yeah. I think park and rides in general should be renamed to Park, Ride, and Pray. There's a whole lot of hoping that your car is still going to be intact.
It should just be just plainly called Park at Your Own Risk.
Yes,
dude.
Absolutely. All of that coming up. But first, I do have a bone to pick. If you listen to last week's episode, that you know that I'm on a crash diet. No carbs, no sugar, no booze until mid-April, because in just over 3 weeks, both Ryan and I will be at the Indian Wells Country Club member guest tournament, staying at a friend's house. This friend is 70 years old. He's lost over 100 pounds in 2 years. He looks better than both of us, and he has a pool. And I can't have someone twice my age who used to weigh 3 bills looking better than me at the pool. It cannot happen. Again, I'm elated for this friend and his success with diet and exercise, but I'm also using it as a motivational benchmark. One of the hardest parts about being on such a restrictive diet is finding something to eat that doesn't completely blow me up. And it got me thinking, do you, Ryan, remember Jared Fogle?
Subway guy?
You got it.
Wasn't his last name Pedophile?
Yes, it turned out to be Pedophile. Jared Fogle was the spokesperson for Subway for a long time, and you'll remember that the entire ad campaign, which ran for close to 10 years, was Jared Fogle looking America right in the eye, holding up a size 60 pair of jeans and telling the country that he lost 200 pounds eating nothing but submarine sandwiches.
My God, that just can't be true.
Now, of course, we all know that Jared Fogle earned himself 30 years in the clink for distributing and possessing child pornography, and he crossed state lines to commit a sex act with a minor. So let it be known, he is a sicko and a freak and a horrible person, and I wish him nothing but the worst for every second of whatever is left of his pathetic life. But where is the jail time for Subway? How come Subway still gets to be a company after selling millions and millions of submarine sandwiches to fat people hoping to lose weight like Fogle?
It's so funny you bring up Subway, because I said it last night in front of the family, and I'll say it again to all the listeners out there in TV land. Subway is so bad. You know why? All their ingredients are sitting in those little plastic trays. Every fucking ingredient, doesn't matter what you put on your sandwich, every single ingredient on there, it all tastes like green bell peppers. They all taste like the same shit. Did this all come from the same bag? Have you ever seen someone cut a vegetable at Subway? You know that shit comes from bags, dude. If you have a lunch break and you're walking into a Subway, just hang your head in shame. You've made a poor, horrible decision. What a sad lunch to eat. You're better off spending twice the money and going through Mickey D's and getting a goddamn burger.
Okay, I really appreciate that rant. I do.
I hate Subway.
Okay.
I think it sucks.
I'm less talking about Subway and more talking about the submarine sandwich and the fact that it was pawned off as some sort of diet to lose weight. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you not eating an entire loaf of bread every time you finish a submarine sandwich? Imagine going into the pantry to make a peanut butter and jelly, and you think to yourself, you know what? 2 slices of bread, not enough. I need the entire loaf. I need 1 whole foot of bread, crust and all, because that's what a sub sandwich is. And just boil it down to the name of the sandwich. They didn't name it a dinghy sandwich or a catamaran sandwich or an aluminum fishing boat sandwich. They named it after a submarine, one of the biggest freaking boats in the world, because sub sandwiches are ungodly in mass, just like the boat that they're named after. And this company, Subway, was telling fat people across the nation, hey, you know what? We know any dietitian in the world would probably tell you this is one of the worst things you can eat, but, and hear us out here, why don't you have one for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Yeah.
It worked for this fat pedophile. Yeah. Why not you? What an egregious diet to sell people on. That would be like telling lung cancer patients the best way to get better is to burn 3 packs of heaters a day.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love a sub sandwich, and no one wishes more than me right now that you could eat 3 a day and somehow lose weight, but holy hellfire, how were these advertisements even allowed to run?
Sandwich is just, it's a bad call, it's a waste, it's a bad order. Unless it's a really good deli and you're watching the dude just slicing the meat up and you're getting a fresh slab of sourdough. Unless it's a real sandwich, just skip it.
If you want a real sandwich, you go up to Los Angeles and you go to Langer's. You go to a good Jewish deli like Langer's or Factor's. These are fantastic Jewish delis where you can get a real sandwich. Now, all of that being said, McDonald's, and we'll get into golf soon, folks, don't worry. McDonald's is currently running the greatest food advertisement of all time. Don't know if you've seen this. You and I are huge fans of the Filet-O fish. It's deep fried perfection, probably the best fast food item in America, and so criminally slept on. Well, McDonald's is finally leaning in and propping up the FOF because they have an ad running right now all about the Filet-O fish, voiced by the regal Brian Cox, who everyone knows as Logan Roy from Succession. And the tagline he delivers at the end could be the best piece of ad copy ever written. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
The filet of fish. You either love it or you haven't tried it yet.
Oh, my God.
Pencils down. Game over.
Wow.
Drive home safely. We're finished here.
Mickey D's just turned into the personal trainer that's just at the top of the mountain run with his arms crossed, just looking down at all the fat peasants running up the hill.
The filet of fish. You either love it or you haven't tried it yet.
Wow. They're at top of the mountain, folks.
It's over.
Yeah.
Good luck ever writing a piece of ad copy that good. Don Draper is spinning in his grave right now wishing he could come up with that.
And good luck ever finding a more perfect, lightly fried square piece of white flaky fish. You can't do it. You could go to a 5-star Michelin restaurant and you could slide in just the filet from the filet of fish, put it on a plate and garnish it with some capers and fucking drizzle all over it and serve it to someone and they'd be like, oh my God, this is amazing. You wouldn't even know it's Mickey D's.
Right.
It's too good. I need to watch them make one of these things.
Yeah.
I got to know, man. You can't buy that, go home and make it like that. It's like a science project. It's perfect. It's literally got the touch of God, dude.
It's the best. It is the best.
You know what? Are we getting filet of fishes today?
I think so.
I think so, dude.
Although I might have to do it without the steamed bun, which that's hard.
That's criminal.
It is criminal.
You're going to have to wait. I can't enjoy mine and look over and see that.
I don't blame you. Let's get to some golf. Breaking news, the PGA Tour is right back to being the PGA Tour. After an incredible Players' Championship, viewers this past weekend were treated to a pillow fight at the Valspar with guys like Pete Malnati, Chandler Phillips, Carl Yoon, Ryan Moore, and Scott Stallings, all trying to run down Keith Mitchell.
I gotta say something. I gotta interject.
Please.
I turned it on and watched the ending, which was cool. That was a heartfelt, really cool ending. Ryan Moore. I thought that guy disappeared. He shows up on the screen. I was like, where the fuck's this guy been?
Ryan Moore, side note, used to sign my paychecks because Ryan Moore was an investor in a ice cream shop called Old School Frozen Custard in Seattle, Washington, that I used to not only work at, but manage. And
did you get fired from there too?
I did not. I had to leave to pursue my dreams in Los Angeles, California. But my last job in Seattle was
Los Angeles.
My last job in Seattle was the ice cream custard shop manager, and Ryan Moore was the owner of it, so he would sign the paychecks. Anyway, all these guys were trying to run down Keith Mitchell, who ended up not needing to be ran down because Cashmere Keith slammed it in reverse and became Kirkland's signature Keith right before our very eyes. Before we get into it...
It was a cashmere blend. 3% cashmere.
Before we get into it, do you know what you and Kirkland's signature Keith have in common, Engle?
What's that?
You both shot 77 this weekend. What you don't have in common is that Kirkland's signature Keith did it on a par 71 with no wind, and you did it on a par 72 with the final 3 holes blowing at 55 miles an hour.
What went wrong with Kirkland
signature Keith? He came in with a 3-shot lead, needed to shoot a very pedestrian 68 to win, and he went out and fired pocket sevens to finish T17. He had $1.5 million sitting on the table for him. Instead, he walks away with $100,000. Rough day for K-Sig Keith, but probably even rougher for Golf Instagram, who has anointed him the all-time king of golf fashion. Now, isn't it funny how Golf Instagram loves to push the zaniest clothes? They're obsessed with streetwear. They love to hate on traditional fashion. But Keith puts on a 4-button placket and some Sansa belts, and all of a sudden he's their drip lord. Are any of you keeping inventory on anything you say or do or champion? Because if Keith Mitchell was just a guy with a golf brand and not a golfer, you'd hate his brand.
Golf fans are golden retrievers chasing shiny rocks. The most wish-washy people on earth. And those in charge of these big accounts know it, and they orchestrate it, and they set it to music. No one sees it. You don't even know you're in a trance. You're like at a show in Vegas getting, quote-unquote, hypnotized.
To wrap up the Valspar, congratulations to Cameron Young for setting a PGA Tour record. First guy in 40 years to have 7 runner-up finishes without a win.
I tell you what an unbelievable talent. I have a theory. I think I know what it's going to take for him to get over the hump.
Go ahead.
His action and his move is so good and so solid and so in control, but I think what's happening as the tournament gets further on into the weekend, he's losing a little bit of that control and a little something, and I think it's coming from the feet. You know, folks, the feet are so important in golf. It's your connection to the ground. You got to have good footwork, except if you're Scotty Scheffler, and the feet are just enormously important to the golf swing. And I think what's happening is he's losing, as the week goes on, a little bit of that blood flow to the toes. I think if he switched from wearing those fucking joggers to wearing real man pants, he might get it done. It looks like he's losing circulation from the elastic on his fucking ankles.
Folks, I had no idea where he was going with that. He was setting up for a very technical take on Cam Young's footwork, and I'm like, there's no way he's dissecting Cam Young's feet. And then what do you know? He lands the plane with
all these guys,
anti-jogger
in 10 years, all these guys are going to look back and be like, look, son, this is my PGA Tour career. And it'd be like, what are you wearing?
Akshay Batari is the most heinously dressed, goofball-looking player in the history of the PGA Tour. And this is a tour that had Ricky Fowler in the mid-2000s and Jesper Parnevik. Akshay, what are you doing, dude? Honestly, if you haven't seen Akshay Batari, you got to look this guy up. Very nice guy. Heard him on a few podcasts. He's part of the Sea Island Mafia. I'm rooting for him, but I just don't want to see him.
Yeah. It's funny how these brands and the industry at large goes down these rabbit holes to these garments, right? And it's like, okay, this is our golf jogger, but it has pockets, a button, and belt loops. And you're like, no, that's just a horrible pair of high-tech trousers with elastic on the ankles. Those aren't joggers. That's a bastardized version of something that makes no sense for golf. And then you got the golf hoodie, and it's like super thin and fitted with this sack hanging off the back of your neck. It's like, that's not a hoodie. Hoodies are made of fleece, like thick fleece. It's like something you wear when you're jogging in Philadelphia next to Rocky. they bastardize these garments and like turn them into the golf version of it. And they make no fucking sense. And everyone has to wear them and be like, no, this is hip, this is new, this is cool. It's like, you're just going to be embarrassed in 10 years every photograph you see of yourself.
Also, I've never seen someone on the PGA Tour wearing a hoodie that actually put the hood on.
It's so obnoxious looking. It's just dangling back there. What, do you have a pickup truck with that fake ball sack that sits off the back of the license plate too?
Truck nuts.
What are we talking about, Hawk?
All right, so now we grit and bear through the Houston Open and the Valero Open, and then we finally get to the Masters. It cannot come soon enough. And just remember...
No kidding.
Just remember this, folks. The reason we all love the Masters is because nothing about the Masters has changed ever. It's the very definition of traditional, and it's why it's so great. So maybe tradition isn't the worst thing in the world. Maybe, just maybe, it's the best. Food for thought. So let's chew on that for a bit. Maybe tradition is why we all love the Masters, and maybe tradition is not as bad as everyone thinks it is.
You know why tradition's great?
Go ahead.
Because you don't have to chase things. You can relax.
How about that?
Or keep chasing. Think about that, folks.
Think about it. All right, let's talk about a local issue that has blown up into national news. Most of you are probably aware of the Free the Tee movement, which unearthed the underground black market world of tee time brokers who were using senior players' cards in the city of Los Angeles to book tee times in advance of the general public and then sell them back to regular old golfers like you and me for a fee. I don't think anyone anywhere forecasted there would be a black market for tee times in our lifetimes, but it makes sense when you consider that black markets only exist for highly sought-after items, and tee times in Southern California certainly fit that bill, especially after COVID and especially in a region that simply doesn't have enough golf courses to meet the demands of how many people play golf here. What makes this particular black market so frustrating for so many people is that it seems to have been perpetrated by a handful of Korean golfers who used a Korean text messaging app to sell the tee times, which means that the vast majority of golfers in Los Angeles didn't even know where to go if they wanted to participate in the scam. Now, I'm not invoking race into the matter. I am only pointing out that the black market for tee times was not common knowledge for someone who did not use this Korean text messaging app. So it certainly adds a layer to the story when the black market appears to have only been available to a certain group of people. The person who discovered the tee time brokers and started the Free the Tee movement is none other than our friend and former guest of the Fellowship show, Dave Fink. And that is probably the last person a tee broker would want to find out, because Dave Fink has a massive social media following and he is pretty damn fearless. And he blew this story up, blew it the hell up. And quickly, he named names, he showed receipts, he mobilized local golfers to show up to golf courses and committee meetings, and he's in the LA Times and on the news more than the Lakers right now. I should point out, I have more than a few conflicting interests when it comes to this story. I work for the Southern California Golf Association. Both Ryan and I are friends with Dave Fink and have been for a long time, and we've worked with him before, and he's playing in our tournament coming up in May. And I am also a golfer in Los Angeles, and like everyone these past 3 years, I've never been able to book a tee time on the city's 12 public courses. That said, I speak for no one here but myself. I don't speak for the SCGA. I don't speak for Dave. I don't speak for Nation Golf. I don't speak for Ryan. I don't speak for Los Angeles. I speak for me and only me. And I want to make it clear that I have not talked to Dave since this all happened. And frankly, I don't want to right now, because Dave is probably busier than God, and he's getting 10,000 messages every day, whether it's a DM, a comment, an interview request, a troll, a threatening letter, whatever. I don't want to add to that noise. Dave has his hands full, and he's on a mission, and I respect that and his time. I give Dave all the credit in the world for what he's accomplished. He is so clearly the only person who could have pulled this off and propelled the story to the heights that it's at right now. He's given his time and his energy on behalf of the disenfranchised public, and he has shown the local government and the local media that golfers are extremely passionate about this game and their access to it. Dave Fink, and I say this genuinely, deserves so much credit for what he has done for the community at large. Period. Full stop. Now, depending on who you are, what you've read, what you believe, there is a gray area on whether or not the city of LA was knowledgeable and potentially in on this scam. I don't think the city of LA was in on the scam. I don't think they had prior knowledge of it. I don't think they're on the take, and I don't think they knowingly turned a blind eye. That's just my opinion. I don't have any inside knowledge. That's just what I think. I am of the belief that local government, by their own function and history, is always 2 steps behind, especially with technology. I had never heard of this Korean text messaging app before Dave brought it to everyone's attention, and I sure as hell don't think anyone else knew about it either, let alone LA City Golf. I'm 36 years old. I spend way more time on my phone than I care to admit. I'm plugged in and up to date on technology and apps. I keep close tabs on the golf scene. If I'm learning about the Korean text messaging app a few weeks ago, then I'd bet my kids that the city of Los Angeles' local golf organization is too. So no, I don't think there's foul play here. I just think they were caught flat-footed. But weren't we all? Ask anyone 2 weeks ago why they thought they couldn't get a tee time, and everyone would have said it's because of bots. But now we know, thanks to Dave, that it's brokers, not bots. So I really do think we all learned this together, and that includes the city government. Also, and it pains me to say it, but I don't think that removing brokers will make it as easy to get a tee time as we all hope that it will. Certainly, it will make it easier, but there's a difference between easier and easy. Removing brokers doesn't remove the amount of golfers in this city, and it doesn't add any more golf courses to spread them out and serve them. This is simply supply and demand, and it's a problem. There are too many golfers and not enough golf holes, plain and simple. Think of it this way. If you took away StubHub and SeatGeek and all the legal third-party ticket brokers, would it be any easier to get Taylor Swift tickets? No. It might be cheaper if you're lucky enough to click your mouse faster than 5 million other people when they go on sale, but you're still competing with the same amount of people for one concert at one venue with a certain amount of seats. There's only one Taylor Swift and only one SoFi Stadium, and that doesn't change whether anyone is reselling tickets or not. So if LA City Golf takes away senior cards and changes their reservation system, and they tell everyone they fixed the broker problem, will it all of a sudden become easier to get a tee time? Easier, yes. Easy, no. And will that enrage the Free of the Tee movement even more because they feel like they've been lied to for a second time? Possibly. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think it will enrage them if they start seeing the real problem for what it really is. It is supply and demand. That's why I would very kindly suggest that the Free the Tee movement pivots to save the tee. Go from free the tee to save the tee. We live in a state that is chomping at the bit to close down golf courses and build commercial and residential real estate. And the state has so much support in this because non-golfers view golf as a luxury for the rich. Consider this. When a regular tax-paying citizen drives by an empty baseball field or soccer pitch, they aren't filled with negative feelings. They think to themselves, I'm glad that's here in my city because I know it provides a lot of people with a lot of enjoyment. Golf, despite being so much more popular than baseball or soccer, doesn't enjoy that luxury. The non-golfing public sees golf courses as a waste of space and a waste of resources, so they are inclined to vote for course closures. And California knows this, and they prey on it whenever they can. The more golf courses that get closed, the more difficult finding a tee time will be. Less supply, same crazy demand. It's like taking a lane off the highway. You might not be in that lane, but when it closes, all those cars merge over onto yours, and now you're not moving. So, I would love to see Dave rally his troops and move them over to saving the tee and becoming extremely politically active in saving golf courses. I'd love to see Dave stage a protest at Weddington Golf Course, which is in the crosshairs right now for closure. Dave has the platform, has the audience, has the juice. Again, Dave is a friend, and I'm not at all criticizing his movement. Hell, I applaud it. I sincerely do. He unearthed the problem, and changes will be made. It's just unfortunately in politics and in advocacy where you solve and fix one problem, you will typically find another. And Dave, I say it with the utmost respect and as a compliment to you, I believe that given your influence and what you were able to do with Free the Tee, that you're probably the right guy to save the tee. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
There's not enough courses to fulfill the demand of the amount of golfers that want those spots in Los Angeles. And that's going to be the issue. And just like you said, it's very true. If there is a black market in any line of anything, it's because there's a high demand for it. That's the issue here. And I just don't think that's ever going to change. Los Angeles has been developed. I don't know how many more golf courses they're going to build there. Just another example of this grow the game thing. There's really not enough room to grow it.
The game does not need to be grown. Golf courses need to be grown. And to your point, the city of LA is not going to add golf courses. So it's incumbent upon all of us to save the golf courses that we have. Because as I said, they are constantly in the crosshairs of real estate developers. And that gets a lot of public support because the public does not view golf courses the way they view soccer fields and baseball fields. There is a negative connotation to golf courses. They are big, empty fields that take a lot of water that only the rich enjoy. That is such a false narrative. You play at San Clemente Municipal Golf Course every single week on a weekday during work hours. That golf course is full every time you go there.
Oh, yeah.
Every golf course is full every hour of the day. And that is a product of not only golf's soaring popularity, but the fact that people don't go to the office the way that they used to. Their weekdays are open now. So you have all of these forces that are bringing so many people to the golf courses that the supply and demand problem will always be the problem. So let's do our best to keep the supply where it is because the demand is only going up. Again, credit to Dave for showing the local media and local politicians that there are a ton of municipal golfers and they are very passionate about it. Good job, Dave. Keep fighting the good fight and maybe take this fight over now to saving the tee instead of just freeing the tee. Moving along. We went out to the Indian Wells Country Club this weekend for a round of golf with a couple of strangers. The past 2 years during our Christmas show, we've raffled off 18 holes in a day at the club for the winner and his or her guest who join us. And this year we pulled the name Jerry Azarin. These raffles are huge money makers, but they're also an even bigger risk because we could draw the name of a total weirdo. So far, we're 2 for 2. Bennett Brown and his guest were great. Jerry and his guest, Danny Sivingse, were absolute peaches. We had a great time. They are great country club guests. They appreciated the venue. They kept up the pace. They removed their hats indoors. And
they tried to pick up lunch.
They tried to buy lunch. Guys, that was
what a move.
That was part of the prize is we take care of everything. But yeah, good for them.
Of course, we gave them the dolphin and just went,
Yeah. Yeah, we had a great time out there. Danny, we started referring to as Danny Couples because he was the mayor of Tempo Town, just like Freddie Couples.
What a move.
Jerry swagged out. And Jerry has one of my all-time favorite golf demeanors. He played fast. He picked up when he needed to, hit some great shots, and hit some hilariously bad shots. And let this be a lesson to everyone. Golf is hard. It's witchcraft. And there's a way to react when you're kicking it all over the yard. And that's to laugh and keep it moving. So many dudes go into the tank or get mad, and it ruins it for everyone. Not Jerry.
Yeah, it's one thing to see a bad shot. It's another thing to see a grown man have a fucking temper tantrum.
Right, and Jerry was the exact opposite. He laughed at himself. He kept it moving. I hit some horrible, horrible golf shots, and we were just laughing and having a good time.
Adam was hitting fade draws. I've never seen that shot before.
Yeah, that was a double cross, miss, quick transition, closed club face, slappy. It was so bad.
Yeah, it looked like a Blue Angel air show, dude. Fucking, that's a move I've never seen.
What I really enjoyed is we got to the 6th hole, Arnie's hole, where he famously made a hole-in-one during the Bob Hope Desert Classic. You did your spiel to a new guest about how important the hole is and how important the plaque is. Jerry paid his respects, teed it up on 6, and then hit a hosel rocket right into the rock, which was
where the plaque was.
10 feet in front of him.
And the comment of the day came out.
Go ahead.
Mr. Couples said, well, that's a hole in rock. Danny Couples with the comment of the day.
We love Danny Couples. We love Jerry. We had a great time. Jerry, he picked a really great guest to bring out. Now, what I really want to talk about is the all-new Ryan Engle. Your ball flight is like Jimmy Kimmel's politics. It starts out right and turns over hard left. This extreme yet controlled draw that you're playing is something I've never seen from you before. You look like a whole new golfer.
It's fun. I just had enough of the monster drivers. I'm over it. So I went back in time. I got in the old DeLorean, punched in 1999. When I was just really falling in love with the game, it was the pre-modern era as far as technology and clubs goes. I went back. I wanted that feeling again, and I got it. And I started in the fairway woods, and I was like, oh, man, this is it. And then I was like, well, fuck it, I'm doing the driver too. You know, I definitely have lost total yardage, but the ball flight, the shape, the sound, the trajectory, the absolute fun I have teeing that thing down, not up, because these 3 1/4 tees, we're going to have to start going back to the 2 3/4 because these tees are too long, Adam. Because one thing you've noticed is now with these long 460 cc tees, they're going too far in the turf, so I'm not getting that spinny tee off the impact that I like, where it just flips in the air and looks great on the Conoco Minolta Swing Vision camera. You know, for whatever reason, my action is homemade. I had lessons when I was a young kid, and then I just played golf my way for years because I in and out of the game. So I'm just not one of those pretty swingers. I'm not one of those guys that practice a lot. I'm not one of those guys that gives a fuck what his position is. I just like playing. I like figuring it out and keeping the ball in front of me. For whatever reason, these 460cc drivers, I can't turn them over. It's always accentuated my fade, and I hated that. Man, every now and then there's a hole like 16 where you want to aim at the ukes and just bend that bitch left. You just don't do that with the 460s anymore. There are situations where I'm going to be heavily taxed, and I know that, but I don't care because the sound and the look and the feel that these little gals give you, man, it's fun.
It's golf.
You love to hear it.
You do.
You love to see it.
You love to feel
and
it.
You love to feel it.
You love to feel it.
You love feeling it.
Yeah. We had such a fun day out there. The first 15 holes, it was like playing in a dome, and then the fan kicked on extra high. 55-mile-per-hour winds, I think I heard.
That was fun.
The flag stick was almost touching the putting surface.
Yeah.
It was whipping. We were playing St. Andrews golf in the desert.
It was great.
And the fact that we only had to do that for the last 3 holes made it so enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think 4 hours in that would have been a little taxing, but to get it for the last 3 holes was super fun. The entire day was great. We peeled out of there, and as you always like to say, man, it's great to come out here, but it's so hard to drive away from it. And the drive home was one of the weirdest drive homes of my entire life because you asked me as we were driving home, hey, you know what? Why don't you put on some Radiohead? And I've never heard anything that jarred and shocked me that much. I wasn't prepared because I think there's this misconception that because we co-own this golf brand and we are very good friends and we have similar tastes and takes that we agree on everything. And that just simply is not the case. We probably disagree on more than we agree on when it comes to arts and culture. And you have often lampooned my absolute fandom for Radiohead, and then all of a sudden you ask me to put them on, and I panicked. I froze. I'm like, oh my God, what song should I put on? And if there's a Radiohead fan out there, I played 3 songs. I played Paranoid Android, 2 + 2 = 5, and There. I went for the more accessible rock songs, the epics. And how did you like those 3 songs?
They're cool. They're groovy.
Okay, great. And I didn't want to overstay my welcome, so I quickly gave the Spotify playlist right back to Ryan Engle after I got those 3 songs in. And I drove home after I got to the park and ride, and my car was still on 4 wheels. And my jaw was on the floor. I'm like, did that just happen? Did he really ask me to put Radiohead on in the car? What is going on here? This guy went and found MF Doom on his own after we talked about it on the podcast. Now he's asking me to play Radiohead.
I'm a lot more open-minded than you think I am.
How about that? How about that? No, you love to see it. So you're moving the ball right to left instead of left to right. You're asking for me to play Radiohead. What's going to happen next?
I don't know.
Are you moving out of South County?
No, let's just win the powwow for once.
All right, we're going to the member guest in 3 weeks.
Let's
win the powwow.
Let's get serious, man. Let's get competitive.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's take it serious.
We did win our flight last year.
We did.
Now we got to win the Kachina shootout to get into the final. Mm-hmm. And then we got to get our pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
That is the goal. The last thing I want to say before we get out of here is my home, my residence, has turned into a 24/7 cat whorehouse. It seems the word has gotten out that the crawl space under our house is open for business because there are so many cats going in and out every day. under our house, and there's a couple of male cats with swollen balls who will sit in front of our house between 2 and 5 in the morning and just howl. And it sounds like kids getting murdered, and they're out there howling, waiting to spread their seed. And I had finally had enough. So last night, 3 in the morning, go out to the front step in my chonies. The cats are at the end of the driveway, and I just look for anything to try to disturb these animals to get them out of there. And I don't want to make a ton of noise and wake up the neighbors or my family. So I find some sidewalk chalk that my kids had, and I just start whipping pieces of chalk at these cats. Not trying to hit them, just trying to scare them.
You wouldn't hit them anyways.
Probably not. I would miss, but I'm also a cat guy and an animal guy. I don't want to hurt any cats. I just want them to leave me the hell alone.
Right.
But there is a cat whorehouse underneath my house right now.
Cats are so weird. They act like well-behaved zombies. What other animal in the animal kingdom acts like a cat?
My favorite attribute of a cat is that they live their entire life with a straight face. Their expression never changes regardless of how ridiculous they are acting.
Very strange animals.
Yeah, and we have a cat. We love our cat. The kids love the cat. I'm a cat guy. I have a tattoo of my cat. But just because I like cats doesn't mean I want them relentlessly humping and procreating under my house and howling for it. If you've ever heard a cat in heat or a male cat asking for some sex, it is the most disturbing sound. It sounds like someone is in my driveway murdering a child with a knife.
All I can think of is Sean Connery and James Bond saying "pussy galore" in his accent. Oh, pussy. Oh man, what a ledge, dude! What an absolute legend that guy is.
Who's your favorite James Bond of all time?
Come on, there's only one.
Only one?
Sean Connery.
Who's your number 2?
Oh,
that's the question
man.
right there. Is it Daniel Craig or is it Pierce Brosnan?
Pierce Brosnan. Give me a break, dude.
It certainly isn't Roger Moore.
I would go Roger Moore too.
Wow.
And then Daniel Craig. If I'm ranking Bonds, you got to go with the Hollywood classic demeanor kind of thing. The cheesy one-liners, kind of like a little more unathletic, some puny little gun that he shoots with like an awkward stance. That's James Bond. Put me in a really cool car. I don't need the Jason Bourne Bond. I thought all the Daniel Craig ones were good, but definitely not classic Bond. Sean Connery, give me a break. When he gets up in the first ever Bond, he gets up from getting his massage with his robe on, and the MI6 guy's coming to tell him what the deal is, and he just slaps the chick right on the ass, and the sound effect of the slap just psh. You're just like, my God, dude. Porsche.
That is a great note to end the podcast on. We want to thank you so much.
We'll continue this conversation off air, Adam.
Off air, yeah. We don't want to get canceled. We don't want James Bond from the 70s to ruin our podcast in the 2020s.
Yeah, right.
Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next Monday.